Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix versus Cinema, the podcast that is reeling and just trying to get over the fact that the Snyder Cut has been here, done, it's gone, it's done its damage, and it's gone. My name is Tosin and I am the host based up in the Midlands in Worcestershire, and joining me as always on the Isle of Wight are Sharon.
Hello.
And Shaun.
Hiya.
Right, cool. So, a week on from the Snyder Cut, Shaun, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm okay. I haven't actually watched it again. I've sort of gotten over it. So it's it's sort of. I've got to be honest. Actually, it sort of slipped from memory really, and even the people at work that's when it first came out was having discussions with. It's sort of gone. We haven't spoken about it. So.
Yeah. I mean, you've already given 8 hours of your life to it. I mean, that's enough.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, what else do they want from you? Come on, John. So but I think I think because I'm still getting news alerts about things to do with the Snyder Cut, but they're talking about you know how I was complaining last week about how it just seems that Zack Snyder has this habit of doing a film, and then after people have paid to see that film, going, oh, by the way, there's a whole other 2 hours I had that I didn't put into the first time. Come pay to see the film again. And the latest thing is you hear that they're going to release a black and white version of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Oh. Yeah, why?
Yes, why exactly? But there was, I moaned about the slow-mo.
Yep.
I got sent a little article from, I don't know if it's a Telegraph, 10% of the Snyder Cut is slow-mo. 10%. So maybe people should 10% is slow motion. I was moaning about it, wasn't I? That's what I was moaning about.
Okay, but
So if they'd not made it slow-mo, it could have been over in 3 hours and 20 minutes then.
Yep, 3 hours.
Pretty much.
All right, but we will move on. We will move on from the Snyder Cut. We will because I really feel that it's a case of the Emperor's new clothes. It's like, yeah. But when you actually look at it, it just takes one person to go, hang on a second. No. He's naked. He hasn't got much. Oh, but he's naked in black and white. So, on this show, Netflix versus Cinema, we're getting closer and closer to that title. Yes, to that title being something that means something again. We're getting closer and closer to the fact where Netflix versus Cinema is going to happen again. It's like the big heavyweight boxing fight that has been delayed because, we're going to fight and then somebody broke an arm. And then we're going to fight and somebody contracted COVID. Almost quite literally in this case. And now finally we're going to get back to the place where film studios are getting more and more bullish about saying this is the date we'll be in cinema. They started releasing trailers for films like Spiral, which is the new version of Saw. They've started releasing trailers saying it will be in cinemas on this date. People are saying we're not just going to do things on streaming, but we're going to do things on cinema and as well. So we're getting closer to that date. So usually what happens is we will go and watch at least 3 things in the cinema each week, and we will come back and rate them. We will sit at home and we will watch 3 things on some streaming platform. Various streaming platforms are available. We watch something on them. We give them a rating and then we figure out who has won that week. So for the last while, we have just been sitting at home after sort of like saying, okay, fine, Netflix has won. We've been looking at our viewing habits, seeing what it is we've been watching. And what we're doing recently is that every single week, one person, we might have watched multiple things. I'm looking at you, Shaun. So, we might have watched multiple things that week, but we will talk about the also ran. So we'll talk about some of the other things we've watched, and then we'll bring one thing forward and say, this is the thing I want to discuss this week. This is what I want to rate. So, Sharon, we have something that you had from last week, but you said no to because Snyder Cut kind of took over everything.
That was pretty exclusive, and I thought, no, we'll leave it as an exclusive.
Yeah, and
that week.
As the one of us who did not get caught up in all the hype and watch the Snyder Cut by hook or by crook, I think we'll let you go first this week, and we'll let you go and tell us what it is that you've watched that you would like to bring to the table.
Yes, I watched a film called The Best of Enemies on Netflix.
Okay.
And this is one that was billed as a new release. I think it was made a couple of years ago. But it was built as a new release on my Netflix stream. And I caught it. It's one of those ones where sometimes you think, oh, I think I might have seen this film before.
Oh yeah.
Or one very similar to it, but I thought no, I'll persevere. I did start to watch another film, a Swedish film, and I just gave up. I just thought, I can't be bothered with the subtitles and the fact that nothing seemed to happen. So sometimes I like that sort of film. But having sort of started that one, I thought when I started this other film, I thought I'm just gonna have to watch it. I can't not finish a film this week again.
Yeah, because 2 weeks ago, where you were just kind of like, I'm ready for the cinemas to be back. I'm tired of this TV. This TV doesn't do it for me anymore. You were having real sort of like TV withdrawal, cinema withdrawal symptoms, or TV fatigue.
Yes, I was just finding that TV fatigue, I think, was the thing. Was where in my house, I regard the television sometimes as like moving wallpaper. It just seems to be on.
Yeah.
And I tend to think I'd rather, so I have found it's a struggle really to give it my focus, because it is just moving wallpaper. So yeah, I did sit and watch all of Best of Enemies, and this is a film set in the early 1970s in the American South, so this will give you an idea of like the tone, and the fact that even though there had been like laws passed about the removal of segregation and have integrated schools and integrated services, there are some like pockets of the South that were just completely resistant, and this is one such area.
Oh, Sam Rockwell and Taraji P. Henson, right?
Yes, that's the one.
Yes, okay, yeah, okay, it's rung a bell. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, so basically, the two protagonists, he is the head of the local clan, the Ku Klux Klan, and he sort of was like a local boy. He's not wealthy, but he runs a little garage. He refuses to serve anyone of sort of black or any ethnic background. He will only serve his like white clan mates and people who are, he supports ideologically. And he is completely committed to the clan. And the first scene you see with him in really interacting with his lieutenants in his particular, I don't know, chapter.
Yeah.
They sort of open fire on a house where a white woman lives, but her boyfriend is back. Oh. And so they regard her as being like a race traitor. Yeah. And so they turn up and they just sort of spray the house with gunfire. So
Sharon, can I just say something? I just want to say something. I find it brilliant how you switched from the phrase they would have used, the phrase they would have used to say race traitor. I thought that was masterful. Well done.
So, yes. So you get the picture is painted of just what character this man is.
Yeah.
And then, but I'll go on. And then his sort of opponent is this fearless, the sort of defender of her community, played by Taraji P. Henson, who is she's aged up from her real age, so she plays like a sort of middle-aged black woman who was a single teenage mother who's raised her daughters. She's had to fight for everything, and so if she sees someone being put upon or being bullied, her instinct is to come out and fight for that person, normally the members of her community. And her biggest target is basically a slum landlord, as a man who owns great swathes of their community, and this sort of housing is inadequate. There's poor sanitation. They're not suitable. They don't meet any of the housing codes. And then the sort of like 95% of their occupants are the lower income black families in this area.
Yeah.
And she's been taking this landlord to court, and she's like this part of this community group who are there trying to battle this slum landlord, saying that there are housing regulations and you are in breach of them.
Yeah.
And then, but all the judges, all the committees, all the council members are all white. They're all in league with the Klan, and so she's basically batting against this this obstacle that just doesn't want to yield to any sign of justice. There's no justice if you're not part of their community.
Yeah.
And so what brings it all to a head is one day there's an electrical fire because of the poor conditions in the local black school, the local high school, is basically, it has this catastrophic fire, and the laws of the land are that if you don't have a school that's suitable to be used as a school, then you have to take those pupils to the nearest other high school.
Yeah.
And they, even though it's only on paper that there's desegregated, in actuality, all the black students go to this poorly equipped slum high school, and all the white students go to this better equipped, better building.
Yeah.
And so the law says these students have to be bussed in to finish off their education. Taking a drive.
Yeah, Sharon's just knocked the phone over. She's put herself on mute. It's back. It's back. I think you were a bit...
Can you hear me still?
Yes, we can still hear you. You were quite sort of vigorously gesticulating.
I was just waving my hands.
And the phone took it. The phone took the brunt of it. All right.
Yeah. So that's where the head, and then it all comes to a head where basically the local councilmen say, "Oh no, there's nothing wrong with that school. We think you can carry on using the school. There's no reason why they need to bus these black students to these others' high school." And this gets the attention of the local press, and suddenly what was a local issue becomes suddenly
a national
issue. And part of the I don't know what the acronym is, but it's an organization for about equality and equal rights. They had send out these mediators where they try to mediate between these opposing groups to come to some sort of accord, and to avoid a court case in which they're suddenly slammed as being these white racists.
Yeah.
The councilmen and all the people of the community say, okay, they agree to undertake this mediation to see if they can settle some of these issues in the town.
So do you know what that's based on a true story?
It's based on a true story, yes.
All right.
And so that's when Sam Rockwell's character and Taraji P. Henson's character, who are based on real people, basically are forced to get to know each other. They're forced to work with each other. And because of the way it's set up, they have 8 members on this committee, and there are 4 white members, and there are 4 black members. And in order to get any motion passed, you have to have 6 votes.
Oh, okay. So obviously this is the setup for it, and so far, there've been a couple of times when I've complained about your typical story about racism and everything like that, and you kind of know where it's going and all that. What do you think about this film? What do you think about the story that it tells, and what do you think about the performances and all?
I thought the only interesting I found about it was that it took the time to actually make these people human.
Okay.
It would have been very easy to say, he's clan, he's obviously evil, he's obviously got no conscience, he's obviously just scum.
Yeah.
And it needs to say, well, she's obviously this battler, she's a fighter, she's obviously, a
faultless,
saint.
A saint. Yeah.
And so again, with the best of intentions, it would have been very easy to fall into those traps of evil white man, noble sort of black woman.
Yeah.
And I thought, because they took the time to say, actually, she's a complicated character. Some people think she's a bully because she's a battler, she doesn't listen to people. And he was adopted into the clan because basically they provide him a family that he didn't have.
All right, gotcha.
And so it humanizes both of them. And by doing that, it takes what could have been a simple, to use if you forgive the pun, a black and white story, that he's obviously good, she's obviously, he's obviously bad, she's obviously good. Yeah. They've actually taken the time to actually make this a more interesting story, rather than just you go in knowing exactly what's going to happen. And even though it's a true story, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how it's going to turn out. And for that, I think it made a better film.
And how many stars would you give this better film?
I would give it a high 3.
All right. Okay, cool.
I think because it is what it is, and I think because of the tone of the film at the offset, when they talk about the best of enemies, that it's not going to end up in bloodshed.
Yeah.
So you have an inkling of how it ends, but you just don't know how it's going to get there. And there are moments of genuine tension and moments of genuine pathos from both sides.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a better film of this type. it's awful that you sort of films about racism have become their own almost like mini genre.
I was just going to say that sounds exactly along the same lines as a film I did a few weeks ago called Burden, with Forrest Whitaker and the young lad that's in the clan with it. I'm pretty sure we did it on the show.
Yes.
I'm sure of it. Burden, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Forrest Whitaker plays the preacher and takes in.
That's it. Yeah, he took this guy in from the clan.
Yeah.
It has become. I think it's not a uniquely American story, but this type of film, I think, is. I think in some ways it's a shame that we only ever see sort of stories about racism from an American point of view. I know we've recently had the Small Axe sort of films that are trying to sort of take it into a different cultural context. But I think so much of what we think we understand about racism is actually influenced by the American story of racism, which I don't think.
How was the acting? Sharon?
I thought it was very well done. I thought Sam Rockwell, I think he's a very good actor, isn't he? And I think if anyone can bring the humanity to someone of that type, he can. And I think they both played their parts well. I don't think you didn't feel one overshadowed the other, because when you're playing like this sort of fearless, mighty sort of woman of integrity, it's easy to be like chewing the furniture, really. And I think, again, to bring humanity to someone who is like a larger than life character takes skill, and I think Taraji P showed that as well. So I think they both, it's like the two-hander, really. There's other characters, but these two really carried the film. And I think they both did it well.
All right, cool. Alarm has just gone over saying that it's time to switch to our next thing. But before we do, I like what you were saying about the fact that we only ever see stories about this sort of racism, well, largely from an American perspective, especially in the week that we had the report that says Britain is an exemplar of racial equality the world over, which I don't know how anybody said that with a straight face. And I think it's kind of like that sort of problem. I think in America, it's still so much more in your face. And in Britain, it's more subtle, and it's easier for people to sort of like sweep it under the carpet and say, no, we haven't got a problem here. Well, there's nothing to see here. No, there's nothing from all the stuff we did in the past. It has absolutely no bearing on what happens today. None whatsoever. So yeah, I thought that was the case. So, but anyway, before we turn this into Tosin's rant about world issues, let's go on to Shaun. Shaun.
Okay. Well,
Shaun, so tell us, do you have any also rants before you tell us the thing that you want to bring to the table?
Yeah, I have. I saw two films that I'd like to talk about, and I rewatched a few other films. I think we had a little discussion earlier about Concussion when I watched Concussion.
Yep.
We had a great discussion about that.
About Will Smith's Nigerian accent.
Yeah. So we're probably going to that now. I mean, I'll let you choose, because the two I watched was 6 Minutes to Midnight, and the other one was Waiting for the Barbarians. So
all right, cool. Okay, Shaun, we can do both of them. Okay, I can set a timer. We can do both of them. We can give you 5 minutes each.
Okay, that sounds good. Because cool. I get through mine pretty quick, don't I? Okay. So let's start off with Waiting for the Barbarians. Waiting for the Barbarians.
Your time starts now.
Okay, waiting for the Barbarians. Now, this film it takes place on some frontier somewhere. You never really know where it is, and they're like it's an imaginary colonial power. Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't particularly say it's like it's obviously a European or an American, but anyway, whatever. There's this, and this one chap. He's the like the magistrate of this village, this native village.
Yep.
And then some soldiers come, Johnny Depp, who plays this really, really horrible, and they do some torturing, and they leave this girl, and the magistrate takes the girl in and sort of heals her, and then decides he's going to take her back to her people. Mm-hmm. And he takes her back to his people, and then by the time he arrives back at the fort, Robert Pattinson's there, all the soldiers there, they've taken over, and they accuse him of deserting his post,
it's a Johnny Depp, Robert Pattinson film.
Robert Pattinson, yeah.
I have never heard of this film.
And Mark Rylance, he plays the magistrate. So
Mark Rylance, Johnny Depp, Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of this film.
Greta Sachi, Ghana, somebody. So yeah, there's a few. You've never heard of this film?
Never heard of this film.
Must have slipped. The 2019 film. But Johnny Depp, I really like Johnny Depp. He reminds me of, I'm into the Mexican Revolution. I'm going to go on for a bit of a tangent. I really love the Mexican Revolution. And one of the people that became president for a year was a bloke called Huerta. And he had those black sort of sunglasses, which are really thick, which all cross between goggles and sunglasses.
Yeah.
I love them. And I so want a pair of those things. Anyway, cut a long story short, Johnny Depp plays this really, really nasty, torturous, and the magistrate is really, really gentle, and they're doing some torture. It's quite bloody in parts because they got some natives and they've got them through their mouths. They've got them with wire. So they got them wire or goes all the way through their mouths.
Oh, good Lord!
It's not, as I say, that's probably about the worst bit. And he's been disgraced because he's left it, and he says stop, and he gets beaten and chucked in this prison. And I won't tell you what happens at the end, but the story. I think the title, Waiting for the Barbarians, is saying now, who are the barbarians? Are they these people? Are they this colonial power, this imaginary colonial power? So yeah, but I mean that is a strong cast. That is a strong.
And this film just totally disappeared.
Yeah. And it's a really, really strong cast, and it was terrifically well acted. Even, I mean, Johnny Depp. Sometimes he can be a bit over the top, can't he? But there's a couple of scenes, especially towards the end of the film, where he's really, really good. And I don't think I like Robert Pattinson, and he's been good in some stuff, but I don't think he was quite as good in this. Didn't quite convince me. But
I think this film sounds like it might have been swallowed up by the Johnny Depp sort of media circus.
Scandal. Yeah,
like where it became scandalous and anything that he touched became toxic.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a terrific story. It's beautifully shot. I should imagine this was one of those films that should have been released at the cinema, but obviously wasn't because of the COVID thing. But yeah, so I think what's so good about it, you can't say what the power is. They've still got the soldiers, they've still got good uniforms, and it's got a really, really nice feel to this movie. Really, really nice feel. The performances are super, super convincing. And I would recommend this as a watch to anyone. It might be, for some people, it might be a bit of a slow burn in places, but it is a terrific movie. Really, really like this movie. And as I say, it's such a strong cast, Mark Rylance, he's very, very gentle in it, and he's a terrific magistrate and a very, very fair magistrate, whereas all the others are pretty much like we were talking about racism. Oh yeah, they're all barbarians, and it's almost like, I should imagine it's somewhere like Mongolia or Tibet or somewhere like that because of the sea.
Yeah, it was filmed in Morocco, but
Morocco.
But looking at some of the screenshots, I see what you mean. That it's hard to tell where exactly it's set by the look of people. Some people I can see the Mongolia. I can see why you say Mongolia. Yeah. So how many stars would you give that?
Big 4.
Oh, okay, good.
Really like this one. I like this one a lot. Yeah, it could be a bit of a slow burn for some people, but yeah, no, good movie.
Okay.
Good movie.
All right, cool. And so with 1 second to spare, now you're going to your next lot of 5 minutes. What's the next film?
The next film is 6 Minutes to Midnight. Now, this was a film, 2021 film, I think, or 2020 film. 2020 film. And it's the story of, it's just before the war, and a lot of high-ranking Nazi officials have sent their daughters over. So from the young.
Oh, is this one with Eddie Izzard?
That's the one with Eddie Izzard. Yes, that's the one.
And Dame Judi.
And Dame Judi, yeah.
I've seen the trailers for it.
So they basically there's a school set up, and for the German girls to come over and learn English.
Okay.
And they got the school, and then something happens, and then Eddie Izzard turns up as like a music teacher, but he actually works for the government, because there's obviously stuff going under tow here. Judi Dench she just thinks it's a school, and just everything is it's just a school. And the girls, the lovely girls, the Prime Miss Jean Brodie and all that. Yeah. Whereas and then you've got a German teacher, who is very, I'm not going to give any spoilers, so, but, and then, so he finds out some stuff that's going on, that they're gonna fly the girls away, so Eddie Izzard, and then the police turn up. Well, that he's sort of, the police are actually German agents.
Oh yeah.
So he's got a bit of a problem. So he's got this dilemma now, and there's and some other people. There's like German agents that pop up here and there, and you're like, some that know some sidekicks which aren't German agents. You know, some of the police that aren't German agents, but obviously when they come to find him, they say, "Oh yeah, you've murdered someone." So he's sort of, they're more or less framing him, and even the person who's not the Nazi spy believes, you know.
So is it like it's a pre-World War II spy flick?
Yeah, it's got a spy flick, and you know, there's obviously a bit of melodrama and a bit of, it's a strange movie. It's a pretty strange movie. From a personal point of view, I mean, it's got a strong cast, and Ezzy Eardard is terrific. I really, really think he's great.
Yep.
Dame Judi, I'm not so sure. She didn't quite convince me like she normally does. So sorry, Dame Judi, but this was not one of your better roles, I'm afraid. And some of it was, you know, it was my huffy puffy, cross me legs, huffy blowy. Come on, no, there's no way, no, that's not, that can't happen. That cannot happen. That is absolutely, what a load of nonsense, you know. So, but it's got some gripping moments, and there's a few bits of tension, and there's some interesting twists, and there's a couple of people that are not what you think they are, which I quite liked. You know, you can sort of make your mind up who's who. But yeah, it was watchable. Well, I don't know what else I can say about it, really.
All right, so how many stars would you give it?
I'll probably give this one a three star.
Three star.
Nothing majorly exciting, and a bit.
I feel like Dame Judi has gotten to that stage of her career where it sounds horrible to say, but like, she doesn't really try. She just shows up and says the line, because I think she's getting towards the end. I mean, I was watching a YouTube video, and there was a thing that says it was like 10 actors that ruin any film that they're in just by being in it. And they had Robert De Niro on this list. They had Robert De Niro as in, like, they were like, nowadays, if Robert De Niro is in a film, that's a guarantee it's a bad film. And I was like, oh, come on, that is harsh.
Harsh. That's very harsh.
I think that is very, very harsh. But I think there's a bit of it that I think actors get to a certain time of their careers where it takes a lot of effort, and it's just kind of like, hey, okay, look, I'm just going to get paid. What do you want me to do? Stand there. And I think, for instance, look at the car adverts that Robert De Niro is in the UK.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, that's it.
But then when he started doing comedies, that I think was the beginning of the end of his greatest living actor sort of.
I think
trademark.
I still like Analyze This.
Yeah. Analyze This good, and he's still terrific in. Anyway, I won't do that because that might be one of my quizzy things when I bring up a Rob De Niro thing. Anyway, but I was listening to a thing recently about Michael Caine, an old thing on the film program, and Michael Caine said that as his career, as he was getting sort of middle aged and that, he said, and he admitted it. He said, I took anything because
for the money,
I just wanted the money, and he said, I made a load of dross. Really, I made some awful films, you know. And he was quite upfront about it. He said, I just thought it was good to make the money, you know. And he said, now I've sort of got a little bit of a second career with.
Yeah.
So that's. I think you're exactly right, Toes. I think you nailed it. There is that they just get to a stage where I think, oh, that's a bit more money in the bank. And I always remember there was a Barclays Bank advert with
Anthony Hopkins.
And he goes, big. And they asked me how much they'd pay, and he went, big, yeah. And I think that's it. I think if they're going to get the money.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you think about it, okay, Judi Dench, she has nothing to prove to anybody anymore. She has nothing to prove to anybody. Although, if you want to see what some of the best things I've seen her do recently, it's in the TV show Staged. She has a cameo in Staged that is genius. That is absolutely genius in that. There's sometimes I look at her and she is okay. So I've been on film sets and stuff, and stories go around film sets, and they talk about Judi Dench, and people talk about how frail she is in real life. That when you see that she's actually said it quite herself that her eyesight's going, so it's actually quite. So she pretty much just sort of says, "Where am I supposed to look? Point me in that direction," and then she acts. but she can't. She actually has someone around to help her around sets, like to hold her hand and lead her from place to place.
Wow.
So yeah, so I look at her and I feel it might sound terrible, but she's on her way out, and and I just think, yeah, go get it, Judi. Don't tire yourself out doing all that research. Just go there, say the lines, and get your money. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Okay.
I don't think it did her any favors when she won the Oscar.
You were saying about you don't think it did her any favors when she won the Oscar.
No, because she didn't get it for Mrs. Brown when everyone thought she should have done, and then she get it. Was it Shakespeare in Love? She got it for, or
she got it for Shakespeare in Love.
Because she was only in it for like 10 minutes, wasn't she?
Yeah, she got Best Supporting Actress for Shakespeare in Love. She was on screen for 8 minutes.
Yeah, so I think it didn't really do her any favors then, because it's almost like, well, you know what, they don't reward, or you don't. Everyone was like, why did they not recognize her Mrs. Brown, which was like a masterclass in acting, and yet they were like going, oh well, we better give Judi something. So I don't really think the Best Supporting Actress at Oscar, I think it's a bit of a poisoned chalice, because often people get that, and I don't think they go on to do great things afterwards. Well, maybe Renee Zellweger, possibly, but.
Yeah.
She got it
but Renee Zellweger, she did have that dip, and she's only just on her way back when she got the Oscar for Judi.
I think that's because she started doing sort of like older character acts again. But people like Marissa Tomei, I don't think she ever recovered from getting her.
Oh no, okay, Marissa Tomei, because there was some horrible things said about Marissa Tomei when she won her Oscar. Like, for a long time, the urban myth was that. What actually happened is that when the people opened up the envelope for Marissa Tomei, they said the wrong name. Like, people said that, so there was.
Is that what they said, or is that what happened?
There is no evidence that that's what happened.
Okay, then this is what it said.
There's no evidence but there is it's kind of like how you have a whole section of the internet that bullies people to get the Snyder Cut released. There's a whole section of the internet that continues saying that Marissa Tomei did not actually win that Oscar, but that the people on the stage said the wrong name, and that wasn't the name that was on the card. And so after she got it from My Cousin Vinny, there's been like a whole bunch of horrible stuff said about her, and it's only just recently that she's beginning to have like getting into the MCU, and I think The Wrestler was a big one for her, being in The Wrestler. And I think there was a film, I think it was called Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. That I think she was in that one as well, and it started going, oh, you know what? This woman is actually an amazing character actress.
Can actually act, yeah.
But it's a good point you make. I'm racking my head and trying to think of great Judi Dench performances after she won the Oscar, and that is a good. I need to go have a look and see.
I think she was okay in Victoria and Abdul, but it wasn't anywhere near as good as Mrs. Brown.
No, it wasn't as engaging a story. It wasn't as I don't think it required as much of her. So that's a good point. Has a great Judi Dench performance post Shakespeare in Love.
Oh
wow. Oh no, I got one. Philomena.
I've not seen that.
Yeah, Philomena, I got it. Cool.
And I haven't seen, what was the one you said before, Philomena? I've not seen, what did you say? What was the other Judi Dench one you said that?
Victoria and Abdul. No.
No. Just before Philomena, you said another one.
I don't remember.
Oh, right, okay. I forget what it was. It must have been quite. Anyway, yeah. But you said that one, but I haven't seen that either. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't remember what I said. Anyway, okay, cool. So we come on to a final thing of this episode, which is going to be the thing I'm bringing to the table, and the program I'm bringing to the table is Solar Opposites, and it is So Disney Plus has recently decided that Disney Plus was too much of a kiddie place, apart from your Marvel shows and your Star Wars, like Mandalorian and all that. And they have some National Geographic stuff, but it was very kiddie focused, very family focused. And Disney owned a streaming service in the US called Hulu. And Hulu are the people who make TV shows like The Handmaid's Tale and all that. That's where they're the ones who actually make that. But a lot of the Hulu shows either don't show up outside of America or show up on other platforms like Handmaid's Tale shows up on Channel 4 in the UK. So they recently did this thing called Star, which is an addition to Disney Plus, which is essentially Hulu outside of the States. And it means that they can now have all the grown-up Fox stuff that they've had, that they haven't had on Disney Plus. So like the Die Hard movies are now on Star, that sort of thing. And there's this TV show called Solar Opposites. Solar Opposites, the basic premise of it, it's an animated TV show made by the guy who did Rick and Morty. And there's two guys, one of them who did Rick and Morty, one of them who did Star Trek Lower Decks, which I reviewed a couple of weeks back. So that kind of gives you the idea of this kind of show this is. And the idea is that you have these two aliens from a planet Schlorp, who a meteor hits the planet. It was in Utopia. They get into a spaceship when they put into a spaceship with their replicants, and they're sent off to go find an uninhabited planet which they can bring the rest of the people to. Unfortunately, they ended up on Earth. And out of the four of them who've crash landed, two of them hate Earth and two of them love Earth. And it becomes this whole thing about how they sort of like, go in between each other. And it's been I've had this problem before when I've come up with a comedy, and I've come to this show with a comedy, and I actually think comedy TV shows are really, really hard to review. They are stupidly difficult to review.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to sell people how good it is without telling a bad version of some of the best jokes that they have in the show. And and so, but this being a sort of sci-fi show, it's a kind of thing where it comes in and it uses the fact that it's sci-fi to make fun of different aspects of mostly American culture and especially American pop culture. So they have TV shows, they have episodes of them that are very obviously mimicking American sitcoms. There's one episode where they decide that one of the characters decides that what he's missing is a wife who can harangue him and talk to him and talk him down and make him feel smaller than he actually is. So he watches all the American sitcoms and then he makes this robot, which is an amalgam of all the wives on American TV sitcoms, pointing out the fact that American TV sitcoms usually have this, what they call fat guy, hot wife thing that goes on, where it's usually, and the woman doesn't really have much to do apart from harangue the man, and it's kind of, and so they do things like that, and I think it's quite clever. And they also have a side story, and this side story, Shaun, I think you would like the side story that they have of Solar Opposites, because it is totally inspired by, based off, it's ripping off Escape from New York and John Carpenter and all that. So what happens is that the younger replicant is a guy called Yumulak. Yumulak, he has a shrink ray, and he's walking around this place. And also, by the way, in this thing, nobody bats an eyelid that they're aliens. They're like, oh, it's aliens, oh, yeah, big deal. And anybody who annoys him, he fires them with the shrink ray and then puts them into this sort of ant farm in the wall of his room. And what happens is that you start seeing this whole society starts developing in the wall in his room of all the people who pissed him off for. Like, one of them was like, oh, this person gave me ice water when I asked for sparkling, something like that. That's it. You're shrunk. You're in the wall. And then as the show goes on, like the main thing is episodic. So it's like, oh, what we're gonna do this week? What we're gonna do this week? What crazy things gonna happen this week? What crazy things gonna happen this week? But in the wall, there's actually like a serial story going on. So whenever they cut to the wall, it's almost like a serious drama of, oh my God, what we're gonna do? They even call the guy who's in charge of the society that's developing within the wall the Duke, Shaun.
The Duke, yeah. Number one.
Yeah, they even call him the Duke. They call him the Duke. Oh. And it's also like almost dystopian and all that kind of, and I think there's a lot of inventiveness in the bit where they go into the wall, because they have things like, a guy, he gets a hold of a mouse, and then he sort of like, the mouse becomes his friend, and then he starts selling mouse milk to everybody all around the whole place. Like, he domesticates this mouse, who he's now like, he's small enough to ride. The mouse is the size of an elephant compared to him. And I think the storytelling, especially within the wall section, is really, really cool. I think that the comedy is quite funny. It's quite quick fire. And it's one of those things, as I say, I can tell you it's good, but you have to go see it. But I'll say, Shaun, even it's only for the escape to New York references, I think you need to watch the wall sections. Oh, okay. So I would give Solar Opposites a 4 out of 5. Mm-hmm. That's season 1. Season 2 is coming soon, because we now have Hulu, although it's not called Hulu in the in the United Kingdom. Right. I believe that is it. I believe that is it. Does anybody know, have we gotten a date for when cinemas are likely to open again?
It's the 17th of May, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's my birthday. So the 17th of it's my birthday. It's my birthday. They're going to open cinemas on my birthday. So I should definitely go. I was going to do an outdoor one, but if they're going to open, I don't care what's on, I'm going to go.
It won't be dark till 10 o'clock.
Are you going to come? Are you going to come with me, Sharon?
Yes, I'll come
My
with
birthday. So that'll be my birthday treat. I shall say, right, I'm going to watch whatever's on. Godzilla
you.
vs.
I know
Kong.
they announced that the Cineworld on the Isle of Wight is definitely reopening. They announced that locally as soon as they said this is the timetable. Cineworld on the Isle of Wight said, yeah, we'll get our staff back in. We'll be freshening stuff up, and then we'll be reopening in May. So we know that because you get the feeling that some companies are thinking, you know what, this might be the good time to just offload those unproductive shops.
Yes.
Or those unprofitable shops.
Yes.
And you get the feeling that there's some places, well, in Newport, we've already seen it in the town where it's closest to where I live and not too far from Shawnee, is that shops that there was no suggestion that they weren't coming back before the pandemic have just like gone.
Yeah.
They've cleaned them out. There's just nothing there. But there's been no announcements to say we are closing this branch of this national chain. They've just packed up sticks and gone.
That's it.
So there's one stretch of shops where there isn't a single shop in there.
Oh, wow.
There's these 4 empty shops in a row.
Yeah, in a row.
This whole unit is just gone. And 2 of them, there was no suggestion they weren't coming back, but they obviously aren't.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen with Cineworld. Hopefully. Yes. Hopefully it doesn't. But I had something I was going to say. It was going to be good as well.
Oh, tell us then.
No, that's the thing. It's just gone off my head. It has to do with cinema. It has to do with Cineworld. It had to do with watching films. Godzilla versus what?
Are you viewer? You are, or are you?
Oh yes, Odeon? It's a view. It's a view. Oh, that was it. I used to be Odeon, but I've moved house, and now the Odeon is half an hour drive from me. The Cineworld is in Birmingham, and I'm not going there. So I'm a view, but the way I figured it out that I can get close to what I was getting. It won't be unlimited, but I mean now obviously with a child, an unlimited thing, that my days of unlimited might be over. So I figured I could do a film a week, and if I do it on a Tuesday night, I can do it for £5. And if I do that each week, it comes to run about the same as what I was paying for my Cineworld Unlimited card. Yeah. So I can just about do that. But that was it. I was gonna say. Fair play to the Odeon in Nuneaton, where I used to live. I was round there the other day, and the Odeon in Nuneaton has become a COVID vaccination site.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I wanted to say
good for them.
Yeah, fair play to Odeon. I'm pretty sure it was vaccination and not testing. But because I was in the car park, it's beside a KFC. I was in the car park and I could see something saying, "Oh, COVID pharmacy to you," blah blah blah. And I was like, "What are they talking about?" And I noticed that the side door of the Odeon was open, and that's where they were ushering people in to actually go get their jabs. And I was like, "Well done, Odeon. You've done well." That's a good use of your space. So I just thought, seeing as we're talking about cinemas and all that, I thought I should mention that and say, well done, Odeon. Hopefully this leads to more business for you and more films. Let's see those films. Let's see that backlog. Yeah, there's going to be such a backlog. It's going to be such a backlog. But anyway, until next week, when we will be that much closer, 1 week closer to cinemas, to Shaun's birthday, and to cinemas. Shaun is telling you all his birthday now, so do send him something. and to cinemas being open again, and when we can actually get back to the nitty-gritty of Netflix versus cinema. What is cinema going to look like in a post-COVID, post-lockdown world? That is such a fascinating question. What's it going to look like? I don't know. Until that time, it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
We will see you next week. Bye.